Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the iPhone 14 Pro Max. We'll go ahead and unbox it, set it up, and take a first look, and this year it comes in 4 different colors. We have purple, which I have here, as well as a new space black, then we have silver and gold, just like we've had for many years. Now it starts at the same price as last year in the USA at $1,099 and goes up to $1,599, and that will get you 128 gigabytes all the way up to 1 terabyte, depending on the size that you pick. Now let's go ahead and unbox this. So here is the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and as you see, if we flip it over, it says iPhone 14 Pro Max, and this is actually the 256 gigabyte variant. So let's go ahead and open it up. That's more than enough storage for me personally, but let's pull off these pull tabs here. Then we'll switch over to the other one. There we go, and let's open the box up. Now I typically use about half of the storage, so let's open this up. And you can see this is the purple color, and this is the new purple. Unfortunately, the space black just wasn't available, although I wanted to try that one as well, but you can see the purple. Let's take this out for just a moment, set it aside, and let's take a look at what's in the box. So it looks pretty typical what we had last year, although in the United States, we only have eSIM options. So we have a little pamphlet that says you no longer need a physical SIM. Activate your eSIM during iPhone setup. For more information, go to apple.com/eSIM. Of course, we have our normal warranty information and then an Apple sticker. Unfortunately, they don't match the colors of the Apple sticker. Inside, of course, we also get a cable. So we have a USB-C to Lightning cable. So typically what we get every year. So far, no USB-C. Now, if you need a charger to go along with your iPhone, that's where my channel partner comes in, who sponsored this video, Anker. If you're looking for an AC adapter for your iPhone, the Anker Nano 3 is 70% smaller than Apple's 30-watt charger. It features gallium nitride technology and a foldable plug to reduce the size and increase its efficiency. But it can still output 30 watts, so you can charge more devices, including your iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, and MacBook Air, all with one charger. There's 5 fresh finishes to match your style: Aurora White, Phantom Black, Misty Blue, Lilac Purple, and Natural Green. Anker also has a new 541 USB-C to Lightning and 543 USB-C to USB-C cable that are the first to use bio-based materials in a cable. Anker is the first company to use renewable materials, including sugarcane and corn, to construct the exterior of the cables, and the cables have been proven in a lab to withstand up to 20,000 bends, making it more durable than your typical TPE-based cables. I'll leave a link to both of them in the description so you can check them out. Now let's go ahead and take the cover off the front of the phone. We'll take a look around the phone, and of course it looks pretty familiar, but we do have that cutout here, which originally we called the pill and hole punch, but they're calling Dynamic Island. So in the front at the top, you'll see the speakers just above that, and then of course on the left-hand side, we have our silent switch and volume buttons, a couple different antenna lines. Around the bottom, it looks pretty familiar. We've got our microphones, our lightning port, and then our speaker. And then also, we've got our millimeter wave antenna, at least in the United States, and then a power sleep wake button. No SIM card tray. On top, there's nothing there, just a couple of different antenna lines, and then of course our cameras. And the camera bumps are even bigger this year. To compare with the previous generation, you'll see here's the 13 Pro Max, and they've actually moved the power sleep wake button down a little bit. The camera bump's significantly larger, as you can see there, side by side, so definitely a difference there. And then on the other side, not really too much of a difference, but technically they've moved the silent switch a little bit down and the volume buttons down a little bit. But otherwise, it's pretty much the exact same. Now let's go ahead and turn it on. Now the display this year is the same sort of 6.7-inch display at a higher resolution. So it's 2,796 by 1,290 at 460 pixels per inch. It's also the same weight. So before I turn it on here, the weight is pretty much the exact same. However, in ounces, it's 0.01 ounces more. In grams, it's the same. So 8.47 ounces, 240 grams. Now let's go ahead and turn it on. So we'll give it just a moment to turn on here. There we go. And let's see what we get. We'll have to transfer that eSIM to this since we only have that option here in the US. Now it says hello. I'll slide up. I'll select my language, and I'll bring in my other phone right next to it. So we'll bring in the other phone, and then it wants to pair to my phone. So we'll hit continue, And then we'll use its sort of QR code. That's sort of a different digital look. There we go. We'll bring it up here. It recognizes it, and then it says getting things ready. So we'll give it just a moment, and that screen is super bright. Hopefully it dims. There we go. And now it says who will be using this phone. You can set this iPhone up for yourself or a child in your family. So you'll see here, it's me or my son. We'll go ahead and hit continue. You could create a new child account, and then it's going to ask you to enter the passcode of the phone that you were using before. So I'll do that. So we'll give it a moment to activate, and now it's asking us if we want to set up an eSIM. And you'll see here it's actually talking about an eSIM allows us to conveniently and securely move across, but now we can transfer from another iPhone from one to the other or set it up later. But we'll transfer. We'll tap on transfer number, so you'll see it gives us the option to transfer, and it says it will stop working on your other phone. So we'll go ahead and tap on transfer number. And let's see what happens. It says confirm transfer on your other phone, follow the instructions. So we'll see what happens here. It may take a moment. And you'll see it says confirm transfer. So it's sort of a Face ID unlock. We'll double click, and then it says confirm transfer, and it should transfer on the other phone. So now it's saying set up eSIM still. We'll give it a moment to finish and see what happens. At the bottom, it actually says activating. So let's see what changes here. Now it actually says connecting to network. So again, it may still take a few moments. And now it says cellular setup complete. So that's all there is to it, I guess, to move from one to the other. It deactivates the physical SIM card though, which is a bit unfortunate. So now we can tap on continue. Now we'll set up Face ID. So we'll hit continue. And it says how to set it up. We know how to set it up if you've ever used it, although it does look a little bit different. It came down from the dynamic island. Positioning my face, we'll try here. There we go. We'll move our face around, get it set up. Okay, it's initialized, and then it says, do you want to use Face ID with a mask? If we ever need to in the future, it will be here. It'll just scan our face again. And then we'll move our face around in the frame, and we're done. So you'll see that came from the dynamic island up at the top. We'll tap continue. And now we're going to transfer our data. Now we can download from iCloud, or we can transfer directly from another phone. This could depend on whether or not you have a beta on your phone, whether or not which one you have to use. If you have a beta, this is going to have an older version on it. So if you're running iOS 16.1 betas on your current phone, you'll need to install this update, then go back and transfer everything. Although it will give you the option during setup. So we'll transfer from iPhone. We'll hit agree. And it says make this your new phone. We'll hit continue. And then keep your phone up to date. Now it says iMessage and FaceTime. People can contact you on your devices with iMessage and FaceTime. We'll go ahead and hit continue. And now, because it knows we're in the beta program, it's asking us if we want to continue to take part in that. Because if we have to do a direct transfer, you'll need to be updated to it. If you don't continue, you can just download an iCloud backup. So we'll hit continue. Then it's talking about emergency SOS. Press and hold for emergency SOS. We also have crash detection this time around with new sensors, and then also via satellite coming in fall 2022. So that's something that will be available in a few different regions. We'll hit continue, and now we'll have to update to iOS 16. It comes with a different version pre-installed. So we'll download and install. We'll hit agree. As we're waiting for the software update to install, let's talk about the specs a little bit. Now, the display, as I mentioned earlier, is slightly higher resolution, but it's also brighter. So it's 120 Hz ProMotion, 1000 nits of brightness typically, 1600 peak brightness in HDR, and 2000 nits in peak brightness outdoors. So that's something that's all new and super bright. It also has ceramic shield and haptic touch. Then internally, we have an A16 Bionic chipset, a 6-core CPU with 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, a 5-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine, and we believe 6 GB of RAM. We can check that a little bit later. When it comes to the cameras, they're all new, both front and back. The front camera is a 12 megapixel f1.9 and now has autofocus. So that's been updated. And then the rear cameras, we have a 48 megapixel camera with sensor shift stabilization, an updated version of that, with an f1.78 aperture. We also have 2 additional 12 megapixel cameras, a wide, a telephoto, and an ultra wide. With the telephoto, we have an f2.8 and the ultra wide is an f2.2. Of course, we have Apple Pro RAW, 3 times optical zoom, up to 6 times digital zoom, and then 4K Dolby Vision HDR at 60 frames per second. We have a new action mode and a new cinematic mode, and a new photonic engine algorithm for the photos. Also, the battery is 4,323 milliamp hours and should last about an hour longer according to Apple, but we'll have to wait and see. It's IP68 this year, just like last year, at 6 meters for up to 30 minutes, has 5G and is available for most carriers, and no CDMA support this year. It does have Wi-Fi 6, not 6E, 802.11ax, and also Bluetooth 5.3. Now let's see if we can wait for this to set up, and then we'll continue. Now you can see everything is restoring. Let's go ahead and turn on dark mode here. And this is going to take a while for everything to restore. But if we go into our settings, you'll see it says restore in progress. And let's go in and take a look at the wallpaper. So we'll go under wallpaper, we'll go to add new wallpaper, and you can see some new collections here. So this is the new options with iOS 16, but just for this phone. So we have deep purple, we also have gold, silver, and space black. So if we want to pick the one that goes with this phone, we can do that. We'll add some widgets here. We'll just add this one and just a couple for now. I'll change these later. Change the font maybe. Change to the weather like I normally like. And there we go. We'll hit add to the home screen, and hit done. So now we have the new wallpaper. Now, of course, let's see what this dynamic island is like. So if we go into music, you'll see here, maybe I'll just select a song. We'll drop the volume down. And so if the song is playing, we'll just swipe up and it goes up to the dynamic island. The album art is there, and then you can see this here. If I tap on it, it brings us back. But to get to the widget, you have to press and hold. This seems a little bit counterintuitive. So let's go back, play the song, swipe home, press and hold, and now we're in the dynamic island. I wish it was just a tap to bring this up. I've heard others complain about this. It does look pretty good though. So if we do that, and then let's lock the phone, we'll unlock via Face ID, and you'll see the island shrinks. Now, it's also an always-on display. So this is what it looks like. It's not very dim. It's similar to what you have with an Apple Watch. So that looks a little bit brighter than many would expect, but it does look pretty good. It's the best always-on display as far as the information, at least from what I think. I've used the different Android phones with it, and it looks pretty good. Although this does need to update a little bit, and as widgets get added, it will get better. Also, in some other reviews, I saw that the always-on display was really noticeable, as though you thought your phone was on. I think that's definitely true. I noticed that just while filming this video. So it seems like it doesn't go dim enough. Maybe we have an option. We can turn it off though if we want to. So if we unlock our phone here, we've unlocked, and this dynamic island looks pretty good, but it does look a little different in sunlight too. So again, let me know what you think of that. Now also with the dynamic island, I can't wait for more apps to use this, and it will actually split it depending on the apps you're using. So if we go back in and start a timer, then we go into music and play a song, swipe home, you'll see it actually splits the dynamic island into the music on the left with the album art, and then the timer on the right. If you've got a Pro Max, I'm not sure what I think about having to tap the top of the screen all the time, but it does seem like it's something that should be very helpful. So if we cancel this, swipe home, you'll see the dynamic island changes, the music is playing, and then again, if we tap in it and then actually close it, it goes away. So it's kind of neat to see that overall. And I didn't turn on the battery percentage, but that's what it looks like here. Basically what we had with the update to iOS 16. Many people suspected it would be a little bit different. Now with this display comes PWM, since it's an OLED. Let's see how bad it is, as I really had no issues on the previous iPhone. So let's see it under slow-mo just to see what it's like. Now the display is at about half brightness. Let's go to our phone and see what it looks like in slow-mo. And as you can see, the display should be flickering a little bit, although I can't see it here, but when you play it back in slow motion, you can. But typically they're high enough, and we normally have what we have with the latest iPhones, which seems to be DC dimming. So I really had no issues with them bothering my eyes. Now let's see if we have Geekbench. We do have that installed, so let's see how much RAM we have for sure. We'll give it just a moment, and then we'll check a few more things. So it looks like we do have about 6 gigabytes of RAM. It says 5.49 gigabytes. As far as magnets in the back, I would expect it to be the same, but let's take a look. So here's some magnet paper. We have that magnet ring, of course, as we would expect. And on the front, You'll see some here, some magnetic areas here and there. So not a whole lot going on, mostly where the speaker is and then the magnets on the back, like you would expect. Now, as far as the display, let's take a look at this because this should be the brightest display on any phone. So if we go up to the top brightness, that should be 1000 nits, so it won't look right in the camera here. And then let's go outside and see what this looks like under sunlight and see if it's easier to see. I'm betting that it is at 2000 nits. Now you can't see the lines with your eyes, that's because of PWM, but it's plenty bright in sunlight. Now something else I wanted to test that many people asked about is since I record videos in 18:9 aspect ratios, they're a little bit wider than normal. If we go into YouTube, here's my iOS 16 video, you can see here that it actually does cut into the dynamic island quite a bit. So you'll see that in my videos. So maybe I should change them back to regular resolution, but if you expand past that, of course it goes around the dynamic island. So that's something to keep in mind. It's a little bit different this year with that. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Also, let's take a listen to the speakers. They should be about the same, but let's listen to them anyway. So there's not really any perceptible difference in sound, at least to my ears, from the 13 Pro Max speakers overall. Now the cameras get an update this year, like I mentioned before. And if we go into our settings and then formats, you'll see that we actually have ProRAW resolution at 48 megapixels. So we have the option to change this to 12 megapixels or use 48 megapixels, where it's actually using 4 pixels per one and then combining them down to 12 megapixels. So you see that a lot, but if you want full RAW, you can do that. If we go into the camera itself, you'll see we have some new options here. So we have a 2x zoom, which is actually just punching into the sensor, but that's how a lot of these cameras work these days. Go to 3x and then you can zoom in further, back out to 1x. Then also you'll see here we have under our video mode, we have a new mode called action mode. So if we go into our settings, in the top, you'll see action mode. So we can turn that on and off if we'd like. So action mode is something that should work really nice, but it's not 4K because it uses some of that footage to fix the stabilization. And then also this year in cinematic mode, we have 4K 24 and 4K 30 options. So try that again. It's not changing. So it may be a bug in the software. Let's see if we can get that to change. There we go. It's a little bit of a bug there, but 4K 24, 4K 30. So it didn't respond for just a second for whatever reason, but now it's working. So we'll take a closer look at the cameras in the full review, of course, and the back of the phone is quite warm from doing all the processing. So it's still quite hot, processing in the background, installing all my apps. And so that's everything with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Of course, I'll have to review it for the next few days, and this is actually being recorded from the forward-facing camera on the 14 Pro Max. So this is without a microphone or anything else, and I wanted to have you hear and see what it's like. Just put it in video mode, 4K 30, hit record. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Also, if you've picked up an iPhone 14, I'd love to hear from you there as well. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.